Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Neighbor's Fence is Encroaching on My Property. More details inside, but if worse comes to worse, what is my liability for tearing it down? Hello Reddit, I'm from Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and I am selling my home. During the buyer's house location survey, it was discovered that my neighbor's fence encroaches on my property by several feet. I approached my neighbors and they seemed confident that it was in the right location. They admitted to me that they only ever had a house location survey and based the fence on that. I proceeded to purchase a boundary survey which found the original property markers. The fence encroaches by several feet. The fence has only been there a year. I have spoken with them and they grudgingly agreed to move the fence, but are insisting that the contractor that put the fence in move it. Their contractor's business location has been foreclosed on and their voicemail box has been full for weeks. There is no way to contact that contractor. They seem to be in no rush to solve the problem and remain unapologetic for building on my property, not speaking to neighbors prior to installing a fence or getting a proper survey. Honestly, at this point, these neighbors are not my favorite people. I am giving them 15 days to move 4 to 5 fence posts. After that time, it will impact the sale of my home and I would like to take matters into my own hands since it is only a few hours work to remove the posts. Since I have no worries of adverse possession, which requires 3 years here in AA County MD, and the property is almost certainly mine, what kind of liability do I face with removing the fence from my property? Can they only sue me if I damage the fence materials? Update, I offered to pay half to move the fence, which is generous considering that he is encroaching on my other neighbor's lawn as well, and mine is only a few feet, but the rest is rather drastic. The neighbor's measuring tape is in conflict with my boundary survey and he wants to ask the realtor that brokered the sale because she told him the property line was there. Thanks for the advice. I'll speak with an attorney before considering disassembling his fence. And a user in the comments said, doesn't fence construction require a county or township permit before it can proceed? If the fence was built without a permit, you can ask the county to cite your neighbor. The county can then demand that your neighbor removes the fence or be fined. Another user said, don't touch the fence, you will be sued and will regret it. Your only option is to take them to court if they won't fix it themselves. Get a lawyer. And now guys, we got another update to the story and it reads, neighbor agreed to work with me to get the fence moved. We both agreed to pay half, which feels dirty since I had to pay for the survey that he should have gotten, but in the end it will be way cheaper for me to cave and help than to lose my buyers and end up in court. I have changed my view on permits. And yeah guys, that is the end of the story. And as we have seen with legal advice many times, sometimes it is easier to settle outside of court and it can be cheaper, even if it feels like you are losing. However, if you would have been in this situation, would you have taken the neighbor to court? What would you have done? Let us know in the comments. The next one is titled, Discrepancy from HOA Board and HOA Document Concerning Fence Construction. The location is Michigan. My fiance and I just closed on a new home and are currently working with our HOA board on putting up a fence on our property. Our lot is an irregularly shaped lot on a cul-de-sac where the lot happens to be much wider than it is deep. The following restrictions are laid out in the HOA bylaws. Fences, no co-owner shall construct or cause to be constructed any fence of any nature upon a unit or the common elements without prior written approval of the developer or the association as set forth below in section number 3. The lineal footage of ornamental or decorative fences shall not exceed 40% of the unit's perimeter, shall not be located within the front setback, and shall not exceed 5 feet in height except around swimming pools. Fences shall be used primarily for enclosure purposes. Fences erected shall receive advance written approval of the association as to size, location, and fencing materials. All fencing and or screening shall be made of materials which are architecturally compatible with the main residence and designed in such a manner as to be aesthetically harmonious to the condominium as a whole, specifically excluding cyclone fencing, snow fencing and plywood. I can post the text of section 3 as well, but it is basically just talking about the developer being able to construct anything they would like. The plan we are proposing meets the following requirements that I could glean from the bylaws. It is less than 40% of the perimeter, not located within the front setback, no more than 5 feet tall. We also fit the aesthetics portion of the requirement, as the fence we are planning for is a black aluminum decorative fence. However, in our email exchange with our HOA board, it seems that they have another requirement that is not in the documents, that the fence be located behind the house. Our proposal was to build the fence off of the side of the house and wrap around behind the house, as our lot is so shallow. That seems to be the sticking point, that the fence not come off of the side of the house. This rule seems to have been followed to vacillating degrees throughout the history of the HOA. We feel that since this requirement is not laid out in the HOA documents, that we are in the right. However, I just wanted to know if, because they have enforced this rule in the past, if a precedent has been set, even if it hasn't been written down into the bylaws. Edit here a view of our lot with proposal and rule being enforced. And guys, I would suggest you to pause the video here, because this is not so easy to understand. It took me 1 or 2 minutes. Anyway, a user in the comments said, usually within HOA bylaws like this, there is language that defines that the HOA board has the final determination on the interpretation of their rules. You may be able to successfully challenge them on this at some financial cost and the potential ire of your new neighbors. Another user said, you have 2 choices, go with the HOA's plan and get your fence, or get an attorney to write a letter, attend an HOA meeting and let them know that they need it written down, or it comes off as they are just making it up as they go. It could only cost a few hundred to get a letter from an attorney to see if the HOA will back down, but if not, then you have a line drawn in the sand and would have to fight it, which is not bad. Some HOAs need to get a life. And guys, if you have watched until here and enjoy the HOA stories, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and maybe post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. And now an update to the discrepancy from HOA board and HOA document concerning fence construction story. First of all, thank you so much everyone for all your advice in the previous post. I will try to keep the update brief but informative. I sent the HOA an email pointing out that a few other houses in the neighborhood had fences that extended from the side of their house, similar to what we were proposing. The president of the HOA responded saying, "Those houses are in violation." When I asked specifically what part of the bylaws this fence violated, he was unable to produce an answer, but basically said, "We can approve or deny anything we like." I wrote him an email where the gist of it was, look, we are excited to live in this neighborhood, but we don't really appreciate the fact that the board can approve or disapprove things like this seemingly on a whim. To which I got the beautiful reply of, "Demonizing us will not further your cause." It was at this point that we stopped communicating with the board and contacted a lawyer. We forwarded him the emails, sent him the bylaws and our proposal. He informed us that we definitely had a case and that in our county, judges do tend to lean more in favor of the homeowner in these disputes, but that if the HOA decided to challenge us, it could be a drawn-out battle. Our lawyer said that he would draft a letter for us for the HOA, basically saying, "Let my clients build their fence because it meets your bylaws." We told him, "Don't send this letter directly to the HOA, we will present it to them if things go south at the board meeting." He agrees and sends it to me via email. Fast forward to the board meeting last night, the president, "Don't demonize us" guy, who actually turned out to be very nice in person, proposes his own plan for his backyard renovation that includes a fence that extends from the side of his house. The board votes and approves, although there is some heated discussion about fences and aesthetics of the fence coming off of the side of the house, our whole point. The president says, Well, as was pointed out to me recently in a letter from a lawyer, looks at me and my fiance and says, "You didn't have to do that, by the way," and continues his point to the board. Turns out, our lawyer went ahead and sent them the letter anyway, cue my face turning red out of embarrassment/anger. Agenda turns to our fence proposal. There is some discussion about aesthetics. "Your neighbors have complained that the fence is too industrial looking," but ultimately all 4 board members approved the plan as we originally proposed it. As we are leaving, the president says, "I don't want you to think that we just approved your plan because you had a lawyer and sent us a letter," to which we apologized and said that was not our intention. But guys, I gotta say, we have seen this story time and time again, that the HOA just caves in as soon as you get a lawyer or threaten them with legal consequences. And the next one is titled Meth Dealing Neighbors Downstairs. My house is split into 2 units. My wife and I are in the upper half, the drug dealers are in the lower half. I used to be a CSI and I am now a private investigator, so I was able to spot some of the signs within a week of them moving in. Number 1, they put up security cameras over their front door, back door, and attached garage, yet we live in a quiet neighborhood with mostly older married couples. Number 2, all of their windows are blacked out no matter the time of day. Number 3, neither the male or female that lived there work. He tried to say he was a contractor and she claimed to be an English teacher for Korean people via the internet, yet neither of them leave the house and her English is absolutely horrible, so there is no way she is actually teaching the language. Number 4, their trash is immediately filled/overflowing the day after garbage pickup. Number 5, the visitors, very sketchy looking people, are coming at all hours of the day and night. Number 6, constant sounds like remodeling and hanging drywall at odd hours, like 1:30 to 2:30 AM, basically building traps and hiding spots. At one point I was even able to get video on my phone of one of their customers leaving their garage with one of those foldable cloth boxes. He reached in the box while standing at the trunk of his Honda CR-V, pulled out a bag of meth bigger than his hand and tried to sneakily put it in the laundry basket in the rear of his CR-V. The landlord had already been told about all their specific suspicious behavior and the level of client traffic they had coming and going, but said there was not really much he could do. I felt like he was just too afraid to evict them and not be able to rent it out again right away, so he would lose that income. Anyways, once I recorded the guy palming the bag of meth into his laundry basket, I stood at the foot of the driveway as the customer was getting ready to leave. I announced that I had already called the police and they were on the way. In addition, that I recorded the entire thing and had everyone's plate numbers and descriptions, and they might as well get comfy because they were not going anywhere. As I was standing at the foot of the driveway, the CR-V came gunning back up the driveway to get away and almost ran me over. To the point that I had to legit dive out of the way or get run over. Then the male neighbor put his girlfriend in their car along with their young daughter and 2 fled before the cops came. I know he did this to keep his girlfriend out of it in case the cops did actually bust them. He didn't want his girlfriend being caught and losing her daughter as well. By the time the cops got there, they had been gone a good 5 to 10 minutes and the patrol officers said there was not much they could do, that it wasn't their job and that it would fall on vice and narcotics. I showed them the video and picture of the actual drug deal and then showed them some photos of a few of the vehicles I had snapped pictures of that would come and go. The patrol officers immediately recognized one of the vehicles and said that person was a known addict, but it still had to go through vice and narcotics. The downstairs tenants ended up coming back a few hours later without a care in the world, like nothing ever happened. Cut to a few weeks going by and they are still doing what sounds like remodeling on the inside, as well as repairing the driveway because their POS lowrider ghetto wagon scrapes every time they pull in or out. I say repair because all he has done is put paver stones down and then concrete over them. The concrete is not even mixed properly and it is all crumbly and cracked, but yet he's a contractor, remember. Tennessee Department of Traffic, or TDOT, was parked in front of the house a few days ago, looking at the driveway because it is horrendous. I let the landlord know that TDOT came by and that the lower tenants cause him to most likely get a fine because you cannot add, repair or remove a driveway without a permit and a licensed contractor to do it, because you have to make sure it is graded properly, otherwise you could flood our house or the neighbor's house. Cut to the very next day and they were again hanging drywall at 2:30 AM with no regard for neighbors or courtesy of others. I finally called the cops just so it would be documented. I also sent a copy of the police report to the landlord and basically told him they go or we go. And we pay more in rent than they do because we have a third bedroom as well as a 2-car detached garage. He said that he finally has enough, I'm assuming enough info to be able to evict them, and will get them out. That's been over 2 weeks now and we have yet to see any signs that they are actually getting evicted. Hell, they were just sitting with their back door open and a fan pushed up against the screen to suck the odor out while they smoked some meth. The detective from Vice and Narcotics finally reached out to me again and I was able to get him the video and pictures from the drug deal, as well as pictures and license plate numbers from any vehicle that was suspect coming and going from here. They've been less obvious about their dealing, but only to the point that they will leave, go to the church parking lot on the corner of our street, make their deals there and then come back home. I advised the detective that the landlord claimed he was evicting them, but I still wanted him to push forward with the case because I don't want these people just moving in downstairs or upstairs from someone else and doing this all over again to some other poor couple. Luckily, the PI firm I work for, the owner used to be a sheriff in our county and his best friend is the new chief of police, and one of my co-workers used to be a city cop in our city, plus his father was the mayor for many years, so they have called in some favors and I think the ball for the case is finally starting to get momentum. Now I have to wait and see what happens first, and them getting arrested or them getting evicted. Either way, I just want them gone. This is a nice quiet neighborhood, all the other neighbors are friendly and look out for each other, and kids live on both sides of us, so none of us want them anywhere near this neighborhood. Update number 1, so it is Independence Day and of course my meth dealing neighbors downstairs think that because it is the day America got their freedom from Britain, that it also means that they are free to ramp up business and even do drug deals right in front of my house. I counted at least 7 different transactions between 10 AM and 12:30 PM. And each time a new car would pull up, I would find a reason to go out to my garbage can at the curb, bring trash out, straighten the can, make sure my wallet wasn't in there, whatever, and I would snap a picture or two of the drug dealing neighbors, whoever else was in the car, and the license plate clear enough that you can also see the color, make and model of the actual car as well. Then I would text these pictures to the narcotics detective that is supposed to be working the case, each time wishing him a happy 4th as well. I would also text the landlord as well, but of course the only response I got from him was that he is content, which tells me he just doesn't really care. But I would also tell him, hey, just making sure I document and report everything. Do I care if I'm bothering the detective or the landlord? Nope, not one little bit anymore, because nothing is getting done. They are dealing meth and who knows what else right in front of my house or in the driveway, cars coming at all hours of the day and night, and sometimes just strange shady looking people walking up to the house. At one point someone actually knocked on my door because he got confused about the address and thought we were the neighbors. He was a bit confused when I snapped a picture of his face as soon as I opened the door, but who cares at this point, right? I mean, I'm just going to keep taking pictures and forwarding them on because eventually the squeaky wheel has to get the grease, right? If the PD cannot do anything about it and the landlord fails to evict them, at least I have everything documented and can file a civil suit against the landlord for knowingly and willingly allowing drug dealers to live below us, creating an unsafe, hostile and dangerous living situation. To top it all off, the meth heads downstairs have literally been home all day, but waited until 10 PM to start more of their renovations. So, more drilling, power tools, pounding, etc. Guess they couldn't do it earlier, because they were technically working all day selling drugs. Update, thank you, the landlord texted me that he did move forward with the eviction and their court date is on August 9th. So far they have been ducking the sheriff's office trying to serve them with the eviction notice, but they don't realize it's not going to prevent them from being evicted. If they don't show up for their court date, it is an automatic judgment for the landlord and then the sheriff will show up and escort them out. I'm gonna pull up a lawn chair and enjoy the show when that happens. Update number 3, aka the final update, they are finally out. The cops kicked them out today. They will be back at 1 PM with an officer to try and grab as much crap as possible, but there's no way they will get it all. The landlord had us walk through with him and it looked like they didn't even try to move and kept asking the landlord for more time, but come to find out they owe the landlord $1,800, so he was not letting them stay longer. I would love to post some pictures for you all, but it appears this group, Neighbors from Hell, does not allow photo posts. So yeah guys, that is the happy ending to the story, and I gotta say I am really glad for OP because I just could not imagine myself living with such super difficult neighbors. If you ever had any difficulties with neighbors, please feel free to share your story on r/ripe stories or in the comments of this video. And guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you cannot get enough of my content, then I would suggest to check out my endless playlist, which will hopefully soon show up in the left corner of the screen. And in addition, it would also be nice if you could check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos as well as early access to my daily videos. Furthermore, please also visit r/ripe stories on Reddit if you have any stories to share of your own. I would be more than happy to read them in a video.